So as an option seller, there are really only like 4 or 5 key indicators that I use for entering my wheel strategy trades. And in today's video, I'm going to break them down for you in plain English. And if you drop a comment down below in today's video, you're going to also get a cheat sheet version of this that you're going to be able to print out and save for yourself. All you have to do is drop a comment. I will personally respond to you with that. And if you enjoy this sort of content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us grow. And of course, I hope you're having a God-blessed day. But let's get into it, guys. I'm going to minimize myself here and move myself over. So the first thing we need to do is have some place where we can look at a chart. Now, listen, I'm no Picasso of the candlesticks. I don't stare at charts all day long. Listen, I got a real life, work, business, faith, family, fitness, a lot more other things I want to be doing. So I only look at indicators that I need. I'm not looking at 26 of them, okay? Now, you do need a charting tool. Yahoo Finance, I think, is the best place to go as a beginner. I like to use Fidelity, TradingView. There are tons of great options out there, so whatever floats your boat. But if you're a beginner just getting started, I think Yahoo Finance is the best place to start out. With that said, I've cleared out all my indicators here, and I've also come over to the chart section. Now, I always like to do just mountain. Now, there's sometimes I will do the candlesticks, okay, but I think for a beginner looking at this, it is way too much information that honestly for us as option sellers is completely unnecessary. There really isn't, unless you have some very specific things you're looking at to time your entries. I believe candlesticks are really not necessary as option sellers who primarily run the wheel strategy, right? So right here we are on our 6-month chart. That's where I primarily like to focus. I will flip between a few, but we're just going to look at the 6-month chart here on the Nike, okay? Now, the next thing we want to do is start adding these indicators, okay? So right here, you're going to see this indicator tab or whatever platform you're using. We're going to click that. I add primarily a couple first, some of the easy ones first, and that is going to be our moving average. Now, sometimes Yahoo Finance likes to glitch out on you. You see this? Look at this. Look at what it's doing here. This unfortunate reality is sometimes it'll glitch out. You just have to sometimes clear your cache, but you could see from my period here, I'm going to set 200. What that means is that is a 200-day moving average, and all I'm going to leave is all the rest of the settings. But this is sometimes the kind of issues that you will see with it. You'll sometimes also have to come in here and zoom in and out to kind of fix it for yourself. It's just one of the kind of issues that I found with Yahoo Finance. But then just click done. Now you're going to see this little chart, a line come across our screen, and that is now our 200-day moving average, the average that the stock has traded for the past 200 days. This is a key support and resistance level. Right now, obviously, with Nike as our example, we could see that its 200-day moving average is $67.20, and it's currently trading at $58.71, right? Far below, about $10 off of its 200-day moving average, right? Very, very good. I like that, right? The next indicator I'm adding is another moving average. Now, this one that I'm going to add in here is going to be our 300-day. And again, apologies, right? Again, sometimes you'll find these weird issues with Yahoo Finance. I have to clear my cache, but sometimes it'll resolve itself over time, and it's just part of it. And because your boy is colorblind, I like to change the color of this line as well, and we'll just make it this one right here, and we'll click done. Now you could see there's another line added to my chart here. This line right here is showing our 300-day moving average. What was the stock, has the stock traded at for the last 300 days, okay? And you could see that added here. Now, why do I like looking at the 200- and 300-day moving averages? Well, guys, I am not a when I run the wheel strategy, when I step into the markets, I am not a short-term trader. I'm an income investor, if I have to classify myself as one. And when I'm looking at getting into stocks, right, especially for the wheel strategy, I like to be below my 200- and 300-day moving averages if possible, or at least get my cash secured puts in at the 200- and 300-day moving averages. That way, it gives me a sense of support, especially if I end up getting assigned, okay? Now, of course, with some high flyers, that's not always necessarily possible. But, for example, with like a Nike, the way it's set up right now, I would be a lot more comfortable getting in and selling some cash-secured puts at like 58, 57, because we are so far below the 200- and 300-day moving average. Of course, fundamentals over technicals, guys. I can't stress it enough. Fundamental analysis is way more important, and I will shoot some more videos around fundamental analysis, right? How to read income statements, balance sheets, cash flow, right? Like all of those things are way more important than technical analysis, but these technicals are going to allow you to kind of, quote unquote, time your entries to get the best possible premiums, best possible strikes. All right. So now we have our 200- and 300-day moving averages, obviously trading well below that at this time. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another another indicator. The next one that I like to add in is our RSI. Probably one of the most important, honestly, if I had to pick one of the most important indicators. Now, again, I'm going to just put this as our 14-day period right here. That's all we're changing. Everything is default. Everything is default. Just click done and it will get added. Let me see if I zoom in here. Will that help us out here a little bit? Cool. All right. So now we can see our RSI gets added onto our chart. 50 is the middle point for an RSI, right? If it starts going above 50, it starts getting overbought, right? If it starts going below 50, it starts getting oversold, okay? So, for example, in the 31, that is a fairly heavily oversold stock. What does that specifically mean for us? Well, that means that a lot of people are pouring out of it. Just by looking at the RSI, you can also tell what is happening in the chart, right? If I covered the chart, right, this entire area, and all I was given was the RSI number, I can tell you exactly what the stock has been doing, and you'll be able to do the same, right? A stock at 31, you're going to immediately assume that it's a very deep red day, and a lot of people have poured out of it, right? A lot of people have sold the stock. And when the stock is above 50, like 60s and 70s, you can certainly think that is having a very green day. A lot of people are pouring into the stock and buying the stock, shooting the stock price up, right? That's the way it is. That's how these actually how this works together. All right, the next one that we want to add also, and a lot of my stuff, guys, honestly, is all about checking support and resistance levels. That's like a lot of my indicators. That's what I focus on. So I'm going to look for my Bollinger Bands, okay? I'm going to type in, I actually think I have it right over here. Perfect. Bollinger Bands. And what we want to do is set this period here for 30, okay? And you're going to see that. That's the only change we're going to make with our Bollinger Bands. We're going to put 30 for the period here and click done. Now we can see that there's another chart overlaid, right, over the chart here, over the mountain chart. Okay, let's kind of zoom in here a little bit more. We could kind of take a little bit of a better look here. Okay, so what are the Bollinger Bands? Well, if you can kind of use it in conjunction with the RSI, right? When the RSI is dropping, especially into that 30 level, you can almost assume that the Bollinger Band is going to be towards the bottom of the Bollinger Band. You can see in this case, we are actually below the bottom of the Bollinger Band, right? We are below it. Now, why is this important? Well, let's look at over a year of a chart with the Bollinger Band specifically. You could see oftentimes we hit the bottom, we retract upwards, right? We hit the top, retract a little downwards, hit the bottom. Maybe sometimes we shoot up above it for a while like we did right here, retract a little bit, right? And we kind of just play in this area here. Now, obviously, all these technicals are a fugazi. We don't necessarily, nobody knows what a stock is gonna do. But my rule of thumb when I'm using my Bollinger Bands primarily is I sell puts at the bottom of the Bollinger Band and I sell my covered calls at the top of the Bollinger Band. Now, why would I do that? Well, when I'm selling my puts at the bottom of the Bollinger Band, let's say I did 57s here, you know, I'm giving myself a shot that we should see a bounce, right? And when we see a bounce, like for example, let's say right here, in November 4th, I sold a put here on the Nike, right? And then it shot upwards here, right? It shot upwards right here in a few days later, right? I could have potentially closed out my position within a week, locking in some really nice gains, right? And I wouldn't have to wait like if I did a 30-day options contract for like a put or something, right? Like if I did a put here at this level at like 60s, it retracted, shot up to 66 like a week later, my contract probably would have captured about 60-70% of my premium, and I could have closed it out and not waited the full 30 days for that expiration, right? Now, for example, right here, literally a week ago, right, we could see that we crossed over the top of the Bollinger Band. This would have been a great time to sell covered calls. And guess what, right? As we shot up towards this top of the Bollinger Band, what can we assume is going to happen, right? Well, we can assume that it'll probably have a retractment. Now, obviously, it could keep going up forward, and the Bollinger Bands will adjust for sure. But oftentimes, if we can kind of try to time it as best as we can, again, I don't believe in timing the market. I believe in looking at the setups and the technicals to time my entries as best as I can, but I'm not always going to be able to do that because I'm not a full-time trader. But right here, right, we could have sold our covered calls, right? Let's say we did like 65 covered calls, or sorry, we could have done like the 70 covered calls or 69 covered calls, right? And guess what? When we did that, well, okay, it's still there in the top Bollinger Band for you know, a couple of days. And guess what? Now we saw a big drop, obviously, after earnings. And guess what? That covered call contract that you have is pretty much worthless at this point, just after a week. Now, you could choose to let it go to expiration, or you're most likely going to be able to close that position out early, keep your shares, and then do another covered call. Totally obviously depends on what your cost basis is actually going to be. Now, for most of you, that is going to be all you need in terms of indicators. One other indicator that I like to see for support and resistance levels, and again, you're going to be able to, like, this is enough. Like for 99% of people, I think these indicators, the RSI, the moving averages, as well as the Bollinger Bands, are going to give you all the information you need. But another one that if you really want to start fine tuning things a little bit more for your support and resistance level is going to be your volume profile. Okay, now if we click our volume profile here, for the most part, you're going to just leave everything here default, and you're going to click done. And basically this is like a volume chart essentially on its side right here, and it tells you where essentially buyers have stepped in, okay, and really kind of supported the stock, right? And you could see here, right, we're not seeing much, right? So we're going to see, again, we don't know, but we could see the volume here isn't that much. So it should start bringing that stock price back up to where we can see a lot more volume in that like 64 range, right? Kind of right in that middle Bollinger Band area. And that's kind of how I like to use this in terms of like really fine tuning, really where the support and resistance levels are gonna be at, right? And if I see a lot of low volume here, I'm comfortable selling my puts a little bit more, especially since I see these large volume spikes all above really the strike price that I'm selecting. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen, especially with like a stock like Nike that just saw, had a bit of a rough earnings or weaker guidance, had decent earnings, but weaker guidance, right? So you still have to take it with all of these technicals as a grain of salt. But this volume profile, moving averages, Bollinger Bands, as well as the RSI are some very simple indicators to check your support and resistance levels, especially when you're running the wheel strategy. Also, make sure you cross-reference everything when you're doing your strike selection, your put selection, all of that, and your covered call selection with your calculator. I can't stress it enough. Make sure you're tracking all this stuff for yourself. You can grab my tracking template completely for free, as well as my 2 premium calculators completely for free by attending the Ark Options Strategy workshop down below. It's a 90-minute training that shows you how I've kind of reverse engineered the Warren Buffett maybe I'll buy it strategy for small accounts like ours, okay? That's how I got turned on to selling options when I saw how Warren Buffett collected like $7.5 million of premium for saying maybe he'd buy Coke in the 90s. Like, insane. And then like he never even had to buy Coke, but he walked away with $7.5 million in just premium. Well, I've adjusted this for small accounts, and I've taken the wheel strategy that I believe to the next level by earning interest on my collateral, dividend stocks, appreciation sales, and of course premiums on both ends of the trade. So if you want to learn about that, especially if you're a beginner or a veteran, click the first link in the description of today's video, and at the end of it I will give you all of these resources completely for free so you actually can go implement this stuff. Guys, remember, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.